Hello and welcome to the Matt and Phreds Speakeasy podcast. My name is Claire Turner and I run our little family business with my sister, our parents and the wonderful Matt and Phreds team, two of whom are running the podcast show. David Smith Jr. and Ed Gallyot will be chatting to some of the wonderful musicians who play at the club here in Manchester. They'll be discussing musical inspirations, songwriting techniques and hearing a little bit about what makes each of the musicians tick. If you can, please visit the Matt and Phreds website at mattandphreds.com. Phreds is spelt with a PH, and check out our online shop. There's loads of goodies to buy, of which money will go towards helping musicians who have lost all of their gigging income during this COVID-19 lockdown. So, without further ado, over to you, David and Ed. Enjoy the show.
Lovely indeed. Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Speakeasy, the Matt and Phreds podcast, or the Matt and Phreds podcast Speakeasy, or Speak Phreds, the Matt and Easy podcast. I forget what we call it. I am David Smith Jr. and I'm joined once again by my cohort and co-op shopper Ed Gallyot. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, David. Sounds like you're going a bit stir crazy there, to be honest.
You know, I might be. I feel like we've all been hit somewhat of a wall, or at least I have personally, speaking for myself. How are you feeling about everything?
I'm feeling all right. I think the one thing that's going to get me through this wall is a fantastic podcast from the Retrosettes. I'm excited. Are you excited, David?
I am excited. We're here with Helen and Paul, Bytheway, co-lead singers, everything for the Horse Puppets and the Retrosettes, so we'll be having lots of interesting chats with them in a moment. But first, have we got music on in the background, Ed?
I think we do, David. I can hear something. I mean, why don't you say something about it? Why don't you tell everyone what this is all about?
I will indeed. So our local recommended track for this week is the fantastic New Luna. These guys are a local Manchester four-piece with these ambient sounds and these odd but beautiful vocals, and I've been very fortunate to see these guys more than a couple of times live, and the energy is really electric. The noises that these guys can create in a room, it beggars belief, Edward.
Beggars belief. That sounds fantastic. Should we let it play out?
I think we should. Excellent. So we are joined by our guests for this episode, Helen and Paul from multiple bands, the Horse Puppets and the Retrosettes. So how are you guys doing today?
Good.
Good, yeah, we're really good. How are you?
We're all right. How are you doing, Ed?
Yeah, I'm all right. Ready to get listening to some great music, I think.
Well, we're in the right place then, aren't we? We're very lucky. So we ask this of all of our guests at the moment because it's, basically the only thing that anyone can think about. But how's the isolation treating you guys? Have you gone stir crazy? Have you started fighting each other yet?
To be fair, it's not that much different for us, is it? Like, we're not doing any gigs at the minute going out, but
we often isolate ourselves from everybody.
We often have the two of us because we're both full-time musicians. We're both in the house a lot anyway.
Yeah.
With the two of us, it's just.
And we're used to working together, living together.
Yeah, working together, living together, spending all of our time. So that bit's not. I don't feel like
that's not a change for us.
I don't feel like I want to kill Helen any more now than normally.
Which is a bonus. If anything, I've been drinking a little bit more, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's what I've forced you to. Yeah. But no, it's not. I think some people it's drastically different, but I think for us it's just a little bit more insular because we don't have the gigs to break up the week. But that's about it.
I guess so. But it's like we speak to a lot of our friends and they've used the word thriving to describe us.
I don't know exactly what that says about you guys.
No,
that's how you find yourself.
We're quite happy in isolation.
Yeah, bring it on.
Right, so I think with that, we'll move on. So, do you guys just want to give us a quick introduction into the first track we're going to be listening to today?
Yeah, so this is called Which Way to Go. It was released this year, wasn't it? Not that long ago.
Yeah.
I think it was February, March, yeah. And it's it's quite a sort of folk country crossover track, really, with lots of harmonies, violin, pedal steel guitar, piano, double bass. But yeah, it's a bit country, but I think it's a sort of folky country crossover.
Yeah, and it's about the realisation of being sort of like looking at relatives and how closely you're linked to them, and looking at the paths that they've chosen and hoping that you don't go down the same route.
So we reckon this track's pretty quintessential Horse Puppets in terms of sound, or at least gives people a good idea of what you guys sound like. And we just wanted to start off with just get a sense of some of your key influences and where this sound sort of comes from.
I know you guys have mentioned that on a Sunday gig that you'd been on a tour of South America or something, been to see Muscle Shoals, and the studio, is that again, you mentioned country, is that something that really rubs off in your sound? Yeah,
I think both of us didn't realise how much country stuff we liked until we went over there.
Yeah, we actually went over there as a second honeymoon because our first one was a complete disaster.
How so?
We went to Gambia and ended up with a parasite that lasted about 3 months.
Oh my God!
So
we were ill for the whole week, and then we came back and carried on being ill.
So
I guess if you've seen each other at your lowest and you're still here now,
this is a breeze now.
This is easy. We've got a toilet with a door on. Do you know what I mean? This is luxury.
No, but I think for us, we kind of thought of country as something that it isn't necessarily like. When we went over there, we sort of realised how there's kind of country sound in soul, and there's some country sound in certain bits of rock and pop, and there was I think there's some modern country that we're not so keen on, and I think that's what we thought country was. And then when we heard like all the kind of rock and roll country crossover stuff from the 50s, and then how that shaped all of the soul in the 60s and 70s, we thought actually we're really into this. So then we've sort of come back and written stuff that's got that that kind of lilt, the kind of southern soul. I think that's what Which Way to Go sounds most like, really.
Yeah, because when we went to Muscle Shoals, we went to Fame Studios, and Paul set up a little playlist whilst we were over there of all the songs that came out of Fame Studios. So we were listening to that whilst we were driving around in the rental car, and it influences you being there in the place where these things were written. You get, I don't know, you just get more of a feeling of it. And
well, I think I always, when you think of soul, for me, before going on that trip, I'd think Motown, but now I kind of separate Motown from southern soul with, like, you know, Percy Sledge and that kind of sound, that more laid back country soul, and I think that had a major influence on our writing.
Yeah, huge. And as well, like, you realise that there's not just country influences in there, there's also gospel as well, and all of that all came together, and we just never realised until we went there how much of a crossover there was.
And how much we liked it.
Yeah, and how much we really enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, you come back and started writing in a different way. So, and that's probably why we brought in a pedal steel guitarist to give us that, you know, that movement and that twang in there that we wanted.
To feel a bit more authentic.
Yeah. And it's funny because, like, we spoke about this a couple of years ago, didn't we? And we were talking about our first album. You were like, oh, I can imagine sort of like having a pedal steel guitar, and I was like, oh no. Whereas now I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. So
yeah, I think I mentioned it before we went over to America, and you were like, no, and you come back and actually, I think
So we understand that you did most of the production, Paul, from the home studio you're sat in right now. Can you paint a picture for the listeners about what the studio's like and what the process is like of writing in there?
It's one room,
which we're in right now.
And we recorded the rhythm section in here together. So the pedal steel was put on after, but everything else was recorded pretty much as live without the vocal. And I managed to get my hands on a 1970s Glen Sound preamp unit that used to be used in the 70s for the cricket commentary by the BBC in Pebble Mill. And since they've moved all the BBC studios up to Media City, they've started selling off all this kit from the 70s from the London. And so I had to go down to London and get it. And it's funny because obviously it was designed for a completely different use. It was designed for the cricket commentators, but it sounds awesome. You put anything through it and it makes it sound like this really thick sort of 70s sound. So pretty much everything has just gone through that and made it sound. So I'm not recording onto tape as such, but just having that involved has made it give it that kind of style and sound. And that's where a lot of the music comes from that we like. I mean, I like Lou Reed, a lot of Neil Young, and you know.
So this one is Caught You Out by the Horse Puppets.
You're both more than capable lead vocalists and front people, so how do you decide which of a track is going to be more of a Helen vibe or more of a Paul vibe? We wondered, is it a McCartney and Lennon situation, or is it more of a Gallagher Brothers thing?
What a fight over it.
Well, it's
usually who writes it, but not always.
Not always.
Sometimes we write them for each other. I think it's probably more like when we're playing as the Retrosettes that you're going to talk about. When we're doing covers, it's more obvious who sings which one. Like any that needs a more technical singing, we give it you. And any that need a bit more of like cool. a deeper, you know,
cool vibe.
It's weird. It's like I normally take. If we're doing covers, I'd normally take anything by like David Byrne, like Talking Heads, or Bowie, Hendrix, anything like that. That'd all be me. And I'd argue that a lot of them are not really... They're ace to listen to, but they're not technically very good singers, so they all come to me. And then anybody that's a really good singer, like, Carole King, Aretha Franklin, any of the big soul singers. Helen does them. I think that's how we split it, isn't it?
Yeah, for the cover stuff, yeah. But then for the original stuff, because we both write, and but a lot of the time we tend to write separately. I tend to have an idea in my head of melodies which will normally come from driving or being in a really relaxed state. I have to wait for songs to come to me rather than sort of sit at the piano and force it. And it'll be a little ditty that'll go around my head for quite a few days, and then it'll develop into something else. And then when I'm at a stage where I want to share it and I kind of know what it's going to be about, then I'll share it with Paul, and then we'll work on some lyrics together. But then I don't always have in mind who's going to sing it, because especially on the first album I wrote quite a few for you, didn't I? Because I had ideas in my head of songs, but I knew they weren't for me to sing because I could never get them to sit right. But then as soon as Paul took over, it was like, oh yeah, okay, I can see where this is going now. But you've never written anything for me to sing though, have you? It's normally been
No, I do. No, it's true actually. Yeah, you've written things for me because I do most of the lyrics. Not all, but
I'm a terrible lyricist.
So, she's not, but it's like I'll do a lot of the lyrics, but I only ever write melodies for myself.
Yeah.
Not on purpose. It's just
the listeners at home will not be able to see that face that you just pulled there, but it was a worried one.
Yeah, I don't know. That just seems to be how it works.
Yeah. But it's definitely it's shared. So I would say it's more of a Lennon and McCartney vibe.
Yeah, we don't fight over them.
No,
like
we've
Gallaghers.
we've both got definitely our own little stamp. Which now, like with the second album, we are listening to each other a little bit more in terms of where the song's going to go in which direction. In other words, I've stopped being so stubborn.
And I can't actually ever remember having an argument about I should sing this one or you should. I don't think that's ever come up. It just seems to naturally happen that whoever's going to be singing it, it's never even discussed until you've asked us.
Yeah.
This might be a first for musical duos.
I know, yeah.
Might have to put this down in the old record books. But
well, if we start arguing about it now, we'll have to come back to you.
Yeah.
Because we haven't been asked to think about it before.
So you heard it here first.
Yeah. So this is our song, The Retrosettes, playing Can't Get You Out of My Head by Kylie Minogue.
On the base level, the easiest and the simplest question to ask is how different is it playing with the Retrosettes than it is playing with the Horse Puppets? I know you share a lot of the same musicians. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, go on, sorry.
Oh, sorry, no, but it's just, does it feel different much? Or is it sort of, you're playing with the same guys and you've got the same energy and it's just a different set of songs?
Well, the Retrosettes was always, that's kind of where the sound has come from for years of being a covers band that started as a out-and-out jazz band. So it started with me and Andre, before I even met Helen, not called the Retrosettes, but that's where it all started. And then we sort of did kind of jazz swing versions of rock songs to start with, which is quite a weird concept. And then it sort of just over the years, it gradually turned into my job. And then I stopped doing everything else, and me and Andre had just got a band that were sort of everywhere doing that. And originally it was me and Andre, and then it was Nick Blacker and Rob Turner, who are now in Go-Go Penguin, who are off touring the world. So those guys got signed to Universal Blue Note in France, and then they were everywhere. Then they were off in Japan and America. So then Helen had got another sort of Retrosettes band, and we merged the two together. And so then Rick and Hugo at the time had come in, and that's who's on that recording. And then Yeah, and then we just started writing our own stuff. So that we've got an album out as the Retrosettes that's sort of half covers, half original. And we do play some of those original ones with the horse puppets now. So in a way, the Retrosettes has just become the horse puppets, but we still do play it as the Retrosettes in Matt and Phreds, playing covers, and then when we do the horse puppets gigs at festivals and things, we just play original stuff. So essentially the difference between the two is the Retrosettes is covers and the horse puppets is our original music.
So in your live sets as well, you got a number of covers. For the Spice Girls, You've Got the Love. What is it that attracts you to those sort of songs? Does it come naturally to you to translate modern pop? I guess you talked about doing rock songs into jazz songs. Is it? Yeah. Is that something that is difficult?
Yeah, I think all the songs that we do we like, but we've got quite an eclectic taste in music. We don't ever pick anything. We never pick a song that we think the audience are going to like, and that sounds awful. That sounds really bad, doesn't it? We always pick songs that we like, and then most of the time people like them anyway. Yeah, but we don't go that other route.
We don't go for the obvious.
Because I think there's a lot of bands that play covers that play the songs that they think people want to hear rather than the songs that they actually like. And maybe they like a different type of music. Maybe that's the thing. But for us, we literally pick all the songs that we like. And so when you look at the set list and you think, oh, that's quite eclectic, why have you picked them? I don't know, just because we like them.
Yeah, I think it's mostly, I'd say like 99% of the songs that we play are ones that, it's generally you've chosen. You've got better taste in music than me. But occasionally, when we're playing at functions, that kind of thing, then we get asked to do certain songs. Like they'll ask if we will do a version of something.
Yeah, and then we keep them in, don't we?
So
that's where You Got the Love come from.
You Got the Love came from.
Wasn't the Spice Girls one that somebody told us to play? Yeah, so sometimes other people will make them.
You Got the Love was a 40th birthday party that
we
played
never
at.
Thought of it.
And I was like, oh, You Got the Right, okay. Which version do we listen to? Listen to Florence, listen to Candy Satan, and then we just kind of came up with a version, and then we were like, oh yeah, that sounds good. Oh well, we'll do that as part of our little show reel, and then before you know it, it's become our song.
We were going to ask about that. Just I assume you guys get asked about this probably more than anything else, but we have to do it. We're obliged.
No, it's fine.
So it was featured in the opening scenes of the 2015 motion picture, shall I say, Youth. And I mean, how does something like that happen? It's such an interesting story. Like,
have you got any Hollywood sort of on-set things you can tell us?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it came from a YouTube clip that must have had about 50 hits. We filmed it over in Parr Street Studios in Liverpool, and it was literally me just pressing record on a couple of cameras, not moving them about or anything.
You weren't even in the video,
I wasn't even in the video, no. So it was my band, and I was operating the cameras for that day. And Paolo, we had they come through one of the agents that we worked with, and it was so weird because it was a lot of really sort of poorly translated Italian emails coming to us asking us about whether we might be able to do a song for a film, and we didn't really know what we were doing, so we recorded them in 80 Hertz in Manchester. We recorded You Got the Love and
Reality by Vladimir Cosma.
Yeah.
But originally though, when the first email came through and it said, oh yeah, we want you to record a song for this film with this Italian film director, and he got an Oscar the year before. And I turned around to Paul and I was like, it's a hoax.
Yeah, we thought it was a wind-up. We've got some... Yeah, we did think it was a wind-up. But yeah, we right up until the actual film, we didn't really know what
we didn't know anything about
our involvement was. We found out about 3 or 4 days before that we were actually being flown out to Switzerland to a out-of-season ski resort that was going to be empty. And even then, we'd sort of heard a little bit about who might be in it, but we didn't realise that we were going to be in it. We thought we might be like in the background, but we ended up, Helen being like
opening scene,
the opening 2 minutes of the film. But yeah, how I remember it was just like we were filming from about 1 a.m. through to 6, something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really late because they had to get it completely pitch black.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because they wanted it to be a nighttime setting because it was it was staying light quite late, so we didn't get to start filming until midnight.
It was freezing.
And Helen was in that mini dress. But yeah, we were on this revolving stage, and so it was a glass bottomed revolving stage that they'd put a mattress underneath 10 metres down, which was worrying.
We were like, is that for us? No, you don't worry about that.
You don't need to worry about that. I'm thinking, well, it wasn't there a minute ago until you put all these amps on it. But yeah, they kept spinning us round on this sort of rotating lit up glass dance floor, and yeah, we'd been doing that for probably a couple of hours straight, just keep going over the same song with the cameraman going round. Yeah, and people, all these women dancing really like they were on something, just totally out of it. And we'd got like this sofa on there, and it was all very chilled. And
they'd basically based it on our promo video, because in our promo video for Parr Street, we had a sofa there, we had a lampshade, and it was set up like somebody's front room.
And they were like, the same,
that's what we want for the beginning of the scene. So they got in a sofa and a lampshade. It was just like going, all right, okay, cool.
But when we finished filming after the 2 hours, 2 blokes approached the stage and just said, I really, really enjoyed that. And I thought, who are these guys? I genuinely thought, who are these guys? And got a little bit closer and realised it was Michael Caine and Harvey Keitel, and they'd been sat like about 5 metres from us in the whole scene. I had no idea.
Yeah. And Michael comes over and puts his hand out and he goes like, I'm Michael. We were like, yeah, we know. we kind of know that.
He must get a kick out of doing that, surely.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, he's a nice chap. And like they had a very loud conversation that was about Helen, and we were only like 5 metres away and heard every word of it. I think those two are together. I think those two are together. And he's like, no, they're not. No, they're not. He says, they are. Look at him. He's definitely with her. Look, he's looking after her. He's like, no, they're just mates. Well, I think she's available.
Oh, that's a good story to end on there.
Yeah, I think that'll do us. So, to close the show, we'll just thank you guys for coming on and talking to us. It's been truly very entertaining.
You're very welcome.
Is there anywhere that if anything that you want to promote, anywhere that people can find you online, if they want to find the Horse Puppets or the Retrosettes, where should they look?
Well, whilst we're on lockdown, every Friday at the moment, me and Helen are playing a gig in this room that we're streaming at 7 o'clock.
Which Matt and Phreds are hosting.
Which Matt and Phreds are hosting this coming Friday.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's through the Horse Puppets Facebook page. So that's probably the best place to find us at the minute.
Yeah.
And that's usually where we post everything. Really.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. That's
excellent.
That's
nice and simple.
Yeah.
Easy to find.
Yeah.
Well, so Ed, have you got anything to say before we say goodbye?
Well,
got anything to say?
I'll just talk forever.
I've got nothing to say, but thank you. It's been great. It's been really good.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys, and we'll speak to you again very soon. Thank you.
Yeah. All right then. Nice one.
You know what, Ed? I think I'm gonna miss those guys.
That was lovely, wasn't it? It's great to hear all the songwriting stories, some Hollywood stories there as well. It was great. I said that was a lovely episode. I'm going to miss them too.
Yeah, and I'm going to miss this episode because we have come to the end. So, as always, if you've enjoyed what you've heard, if you want to tell us anything about Helen and Paul, or if you not anything about them, it sounds like you've got gossip to spread. If you want to tell us how much you liked them, or you want to tell us how much you've disliked us, or you want to tell us how great New Luna are, or you want to tell us what you're listening to at home, anything at all, send it in to speakeasy@mattandphreds.com. That's Phreds with a PH, and we'll be sure to give it a read and maybe even mention it on the show.
And you can find the podcast on Spotify. You can also find it on Apple Podcasts. You can find it on buzzsprout.com. buzz.com/speakeasy. That's buzz with 2 Z's. And without further ado, I think we've got some people to say thank you to, haven't we, David?
We do indeed. So first, I'd, of course, like to say thank you for New Luna for being our local recommended track of the week.
I'd also like to say thank you to Claire Turner for doing our wonderful intro and giving us this opportunity. We'd like to say thank you to William Mackenzie for the beautiful jazz you hit in between the tracks.
And finally, we would absolutely say a huge, hearty thank you to Helen and Paul for being on the show today and putting up with our terrible banter.
And we'd like to thank you. If you've made it this far, we'd like to thank you. And we'd like to thank you for putting up with just our terrible voices throughout this whole, however many minutes this episode ends up. I'd just like to say a big, big thank you, because this has been our project during isolation. And we love doing it, don't we, David?
We do indeed. It's what's keeping the days structured, and it's what's getting us through that wall.
So, yeah, if you like what you heard, there's 2 more episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on the Buzzsprout website. Check them out.
And we will hopefully talk to you again very soon.
Next Sunday.